Okay, peeps. I think we're live. I'm having some issues here with just the dreaded Internet Explorer is the program that auto-opened when I started Wirecast, which of course means it's garbage. But that's what I'm stuck dealing with right now. So as usual, if you could please let me know that you're seeing me, hearing me, all of that fun stuff. Not that seeing me or hearing me is that fun, but it's better than a sharp slap in the face. A sharp slap in the face. That's correct. I said that. Alright, that looks good-ish. Top of my head is cropped off. Again, the less of me there is, the better. Turn self-deprecation into a sport. Sport, damn it. Okay, I think we're good. So let me go ahead and just scroll back up here. Actually, I'm waiting for somebody, anybody, to let me know that everything's cool before I start talking for a half hour and then say, oh, hey, you can't hear me. Okay, thank you, James Robert 222 for saying that, although this would be the perfect opportunity for someone to troll me and lie. Okay, my name is Nick, this is Board Game Brawl, and this is a live Q&A. This is where you can ask me anything you want, probably board game related, that's fine. Anything else you want to ask me, any kind of personal questions, well, not any kind of personal questions, but whatever you want to ask, I'm available to do that. This is without a doubt my favorite thing to do on the channel. I wish that it was a better day for it because I literally got 30 to maybe 40 minutes of sleep last night. Not an exaggeration at all. If anything, that's I'm being generous with the amount of sleep I got last night. And then I was just kind of sick today, and I did grab another hour before this, which just kind of made me more tired. So there you have it. But that's okay. I always feel energized when I do these Q&As because I really, really love them. So let's go ahead. Now, normally, hold on a second. I'm just double checking everyone can see me. There you go. Cool. I normally would show you a bunch of games that are on the way, but I think I pretty much did that on Facebook to obscene amounts this past week. If you go and look on Facebook, if you haven't already, first of all, like us. I guess it means something. It's some sort of sign of status. But if you could like us, that'd be great. And then you'll see a couple of photos I posted in the past week of a bunch of games I got from Gen Con from a couple of friends who sent them to me. So that's cool. That's what's coming up. And obviously you just saw a few reviews drop today of some of the hotter games, including my number one, which was Legendary Secret Wars. So go check that out. I also got the one of the lots of games that was sent back to me was accidentally sent back priority overnight FedEx, which entailed a $100 shipping charge. I was not too happy about that. It's not my friend's fault at all, but it's kind of the hotel's fault, whatever it is, but it's really, really upsetting. I didn't want to spend that much, but there you have it. So that's the cost of doing business sometimes. All right, so let's go ahead and spend some quality time with these questions. And the reason I'm not going to be showing off a bunch of games, that takes a lot of time. I always am against the 8 ball to answer everyone's question in time, so let's just go ahead and dive right into it. All right, what is the one out-of-print game that you are dying for it to be reprinted? Oh, boy. You know, I kind of have all the Grail games I really want. I wouldn't mind playing the original Warhammer Quest. Sorry, my nose is all itchy. I wouldn't mind. Well, I just had it on the tip of my tongue. I've heard good things about Necromunda. You know, the Games Workshop games are notoriously out of print. That's a great question. There's not a lot of other ones that I would be desperate to get back in print. I guess it'd be nice to get more HeroScape stuff to justify the stuff I have already. But it's a tough one. You talked about new shelves for your games. Are you already looking for specific ones, or are you still browsing? I'm kind of half browsing, half not. I was looking on Craigslist, and there was a couple of like the what's the old ones? The Expedite and the Calyx shelves, which are the new one of the Expedite. People were selling those, and I wasn't quite able to grab them. And sometimes they show up on Craigslist, sometimes they don't. I'm not willing to spend a lot of money on them is all. If I have to, I'm just going to go to Big Lots and buy another like $30 unit that looks like these. I don't really care. I know people get a lark out of making fun of my shelves, and it's fine. Hey, bugbear appearance. But I don't really care. Whatever holds them up, I suppose. And I'm glad that people have fun making fun of me for it. I don't mind. Last game you played and jumped for joy because you won. Okay, yeah, probably Codenames, actually. We played a lot of Codenames the other night. Probably, 4 or 5 games back to back. And that game is really silly, and it's just a deduction game. And, you know, when I win that game, I've won a lot. I don't feel like I have, like, outthought my opponent or like, my strategy was better. It's nothing like that. But when you win, it's almost like winning in a vacuum. It feels so good to correctly guess because it is kind of stressful. I felt bad too because I was like, yeah, buddy, woo! I really was overexcited, and it had nothing to do with my opponents, and I felt rude after that. But there you go. Yeah, Nerzenjaeger has a lot of questions. That's fine. Do you ever see yourself joining the Dice Tower as staff? I love BGB, and I understand the doing your own thing attitude. But if you were offered a job at DT by Tom, would you join them? No, I would not. At this point, in the early days of my channel, I don't think that I could have possibly turned it down. Well, I don't know about that. In the early days of my channel, I was supported by 2 friends of the channel who really were like my backers, and they wanted to. They actually were afraid that I might link up with Vassal in more than just a contributor sense. So I don't even know if there ever was a time where I would have joined, but definitely not now. And, well, you just said it yourself. It's my do-it-your-own-thing attitude. Now, I hope that doesn't come off as sounding arrogant, but listen, this isn't something I'm doing for a living. If it was something I was doing for a living, I would make whatever choice is best for my lifestyle, my bank account. As cynical as that sounds, I would, if it definitely was something that I had to do, then I would make a wise choice, and that would be the wise choice. Just like hitching my star to their wagon was a wise choice and has led my to the Dice Tower's wagon, because it's led to much more popularity for my channel, many more subscribers and things like that. The problem is, there's a few things. Number one, it's not coming out of a place of arrogance, but since I am doing this for fun, I want to see how far I can go with it. There's very few things in my life that I can say have been my own thing, that I can sort of nurture and foster and help to grow and feel good about myself for doing. And it's absolutely true that I did not create this channel in a vacuum. Obviously, it's modeled after Tom's channel. I wouldn't be as far as I am today without the influence of the Dice Tower as a whole. But I think I've managed to break away and do something kind of cool with my thoughts and opinions and what I bring to the table, no pun intended. So I want to stay the course for that reason. It's also very true, by the way, that I'm talking like all of this as if the assumption is that, of course, Tom would ask me. He did make some intimations that way, that he wished that he had gotten to me sooner and would have put me on the channel. But I do think that at this point, I am a very polarizing figure on the Dice Tower network. There's a very... Okay, maybe it's just the loud minority, but there are definitely people in Tom's audience who despise me because they do not like having the cart shaken or turned over, and people saying sarcastic things, and people sort of speaking freely and not just talking about the game and interjecting their personal opinions and lifestyle views and choices into their commentary. And that really upsets and pisses people off. So there's that. And that kind of spreads over to some of the other contributors of the Dice Tower network, whether it's podcast or video channel, who really do not like me. And that's not me being paranoid, like everyone's out to get me. No, there's some people in the channel who do not like me, period, end of story. That is their right, and I'm not going to like call them individually to the table for it. But because of those things, I think that, and Tom knows this, by the way, fully. I think at one point he told me in private, you're one of the most hated people in the industry. Because of this, I think it would be very dangerous for him to let me be anything more than a contributor. There's a significant gulf between me just submitting a Kickstarter update every week, or maybe a Board Game Blender segment, though I've mostly stopped those. There's a significant gulf between that and between seeing my videos on his channel a few days a week. That is a whole other level I don't think anyone really wants to go to. So that's a long-winded answer, but the bottom line is I want to go it on my own, And I think that that's the best thing for the Dice Tower as well. And we'll see how long it goes like this. How are your plans on getting healthier coming along? Obviously not well. I've gained a ton of weight in the past year, and it's really saddening to me. And the thing about it is, and I was talking to one of my friends about this the other day when we were out to dinner, ironically enough, it's that I'm not eating like a lot. The problem is I'm not exercising the way I used to. It feels like I'm exhausted all the time, but that's only because I'm up all the time working on my channel. I haven't actually been doing a lot of aerobic exercise like I used to. All the food that I'm eating, even though it's not a lot, it's maybe I probably have 2 meals a day, and they're not like buffets, but those meals are garbage. It's just fast food because it's cheap and fast. So that's the problem. And I do want to start my gym membership again. There's no reason not to. It's literally 4 blocks away from me. And even if I could do it a few days a week, I know that's the thing with me is that once I start exercising, I lose a lot of weight. I just need to exercise. And I do need to change my diet, but I can do that too. It's just a little, I don't know. I like having a plan. And right now I have no plan. It's been so stressful for me. I haven't been able to do it. It sounds like a lot of excuses. That's what people that don't want to change their lifestyle do, is make excuses. But I really do want to change. I hate being the fat guy. And I hate, I want to be in better shape. We'll see. I really want to make that happen. But I'm also not the person to set like goals and resolutions I don't think are plausible at the moment. Have you seen the new DBZ movie? Until I saw that question a couple minutes ago, I forgot that it was in theaters. I'm very on the fence about it because I don't want to watch a dub. I do not want to watch the English dub, but I like the idea of seeing the new DBZ in theaters. I'll think about it. I may have missed my chance. I think it might be too late for me in the theaters around me. What were the last 3 games you got rid of and why? Are there any reason that are good games but had to leave for a specific reason? I got rid of a lot of games recently, and that's just going to happen. Now we're at the point in my channel where I'm getting a lot of games sent into me. I'm buying a lot of games I just think are interesting that would be good for the channel, and then a lot of them are just not good. Let's see. If I could pick out 3 notable ones. Cthulhu's Vault was a game that, as it turns out, wasn't good for anybody. It's not doing much on my channel, and it's just not a good game. It had potential. I think this is like the nail in the coffin for storytelling games. It's just it's not a genre that works for me. I think I'm finally coming to that conclusion. And because Cthulhu's Vault had some potential there to be good, and it just fell apart pretty badly. Cool tin though. What else? X-Men Mutant Revolution and Homeland. We'll go ahead and mention those. Those are both actually good games. I can't knock them both. And I tried to actually give X-Men Revolution to one of my friends. He was like, "Why are you getting rid of it?" And I'm like, "It's good. I just don't have room for it, and it's comparing to all these other games, I'm just not going to want to play it." Same thing with Homeland. Homeland is remarkably good and interesting. Given that it's a licensed property and it's Homeland, for God's sake. Homeland's an okay show, but would you ever think a game of it would be great? But it works. It works really well. It's very interesting and innovative. But again, it wasn't like really amazingly great, and I just have too much on my plate, and I have to make shelf space at this point. So those are some things that are on their way out. What were the last 3? I'm still in Nerds and Jaegers questions. People are probably throwing stuff at their screen. I'm sorry. What were the last 3 games you got rid of? I already answered that. What would the BGB Essentials line look like? Assume 2016 sees 3 releases for this mental exercise. Well, actually, I always thought like I'll be the one that rescues these Japanese games that fall into obscurity and people always ask me about. And I always thought Heart of Crown would be the flagship title in my mental exercise of the BGB Essentials line. And now that's being released by Japanime, which I always assumed it would be. It'll have to be on Kickstarter soon-ish. What else? Yeah, things like that. There's some other interesting like little games that like CV games that just never had a wider release. I'd love to like take all of the games from Victory Point that I like and give them complete and total facelifts and make them into good quality games as far as the components go. And it wouldn't take much. I mean, like Trieste and Darkest Night already have great artwork. They just need better components and presentation, better boxes, more I mean, Darkest Night is the #1 selling game by far, and its expansions on Victory Point Games, but people still don't know what the hell I'm talking about when I talk about it, because it's still Victory Point Games, and they don't have any kind of distribution. So things like that I'd like to do, but never going to happen. And by the way, we would call it Beagle Games, just to confuse people. Nick, I love your reviews, but your conclusions are too long. I never really know if you like a game until the very end. Get to the point. Explain your reasoning afterwards, if necessary. Okay, I'll go to the mat with you on that one, and I'm not so sure that that's a great idea. I want people to stick around for my outro, and I think that a lot of people appreciate the fact that I break down a game pretty thoroughly, that I don't just keep it to a few minutes. I mean, look, my overviews are too long. I will absolutely agree with you with that. Look at my Secret Wars video. I really... I had a lot of fun with that. That's why I wanted to go through all the cards. I really wanted to, but that was too long. And I will not argue with anyone about that. But I think that people want a more nuanced breakdown at the end. I think so. It seems to have worked for me up to this point. Fixing my table. I see your point, and actually, a few videos. I think all 3 of the videos I did yesterday, I went with the tactic of saying up front, I really like this game, and here's why, because all 3 of them happen to be very positive reviews. But still, I don't know that I would make a total habit of that. You raise an interesting point, but I think I want people to stay engaged and keep watching, and maybe hang on the edge of their seat, like, what's he gonna say? I don't know. Everyone else, sound off. What do you think? Oh, and that's the reason you stopped watching Undead Viking. Well, don't compare me. What's the best place to eat around you? Right now, it's funny. My ex and I had a Chinese buffet or Asian buffet, technically. It's like a mix of different Asian foods. There was an Asian buffet that we really loved. And I would have to say that even though it was a big place, and even though it was like a fine place, it was still kind of a dive. It wasn't like it was a high cost, like fancy place. And that went out of business. I was rather upset, because even after we broke up, it was still like, even as friends, we would still go there. And I would sometimes just do takeout there because it was cheap and good food. And then another place replaced it, ironically enough, especially with what I just mentioned, called Viking Buffet. Okay, Viking Buffet, and they even have a picture of a Viking, like a cartoon Viking, in the front, and it is still an Asian buffet. And when I say Asian buffet, I mean everyone who works there is Asian. I mean all the food is Asian. I mean it's got Japanese pianist Yurima playing on the loudspeakers, but it's called Viking Buffet. I don't really understand it, but I'm glad that they're back. It's a different ownership, but it's still really good food. They made it look really, really fancy, fancier than the actual food and service would lead you to believe. Although, I don't like the food as much. They do have sushi now, lots of it, which is cool. I eat some sushi, but some of their food is not as great as it used to be, so that's sad. But I still like it, and I'm glad it's back. Is it true you have a Hello Kitty lower back tattoo? One day, Joe, you and I will go to a con together. We'll get a hotel together, and you'll get to see all that you want to see. Do you walk Bugbear every day? Well, that's a very funny question, because I live in an apartment, which means that if I only walked Bugbear once a day, she'd only go to the bathroom once a day. So the reality is I walk Bugbear 4 to 5 times a day on average. I walk her in the morning before I go to work. I walk her as soon as I get home from work. I walk her another 3 to 4 hours after that. And depending on how late I stay up, I walk her another 3 to 4 hours after that, and maybe even again somewhere in there. So, because she would not be able to go to the bathroom otherwise. And she's a beagle and needs to roam. So, I wish I had a yard. It's just not the case. Were there any surprises for you at Gen Con? Surprises? Well, I wasn't there. I am surprised that Kingdom Death was there at all, and that they really did well. Like, I was like, oh boy, this is the moment, right? This is where they're like, all right, we're here, time to demo the game. And I was just expecting a lot of hate to come out, like, oh, this game is terrible. It was the Emperor's New Clothes the whole time. But every report that I've read has been positive, or at least like, oh, this isn't for me, but hey, it looks great, but no one has trashed it. Some people have been effusively praising it. I posted an article on Facebook from one guy, some site called Mundangerous, who was very, very skeptical of the game, supposedly. He could have been making that up. But then played it or at least saw the demo at Gen Con and was like, this is amazing. It totally killed his doubts. So I'm excited. That really, really heartens me. Other surprises, I don't know. Fantasy Flight always announces a bunch of stuff, and some of it's kind of surprising. Some of it not. I assume they would do Runebound again because I want to keep supporting the Terranoth universe like Descent and Battle Lore. So that didn't surprise me too much, but okay. Fury of Dracula, that was ahead of time, so I kind of already knew that. I was kind of surprised by Upper Deck announcing... I wasn't surprised by Firefly Legendary. I'm going to buy it. It's Legendary, but I'm not into Firefly, so I wish that was a better theme. I was surprised by Big Trouble in Little China to the point where I still think it's a joke, and I wouldn't be surprised if it turned out to be a long joke that they're playing on people. But I'll still get it. I don't know how you're going to make an entire set. So if it is a full set off of one movie, and I don't think this set's going to be out for the remake of it in time, right? Or I should say, I think the remake's a long way off, isn't it? I don't know. So those are some surprises. Have you ever considered doing one of these Q&As around noon so us Europeans could be there live? Well, I could do one on the weekends at noon, and that's not a terrible idea. But weekdays are out. Monday through Friday, I don't even get home until 6:30ish. So that would be tough. And weekends feel like a bad time because everyone's out doing other things. I don't think most people, nighttime is a good time to do Q&As. But again, but that's the thing, I guess, right? Because nighttime is different depending on where you live. So I take your point, Lyrics, sorry. I don't know the best solution to it. I feel like this is a decent time because it's 9 p.m. here, it's 6 p.m. on the West Coast, and for people in other countries, I don't know. I don't know the best thing to do. I want to make everybody happy, but I'll switch them around. I did that for a while. I settled on Friday because I like having a routine, but I can switch them around. We'll see. I'll do something. I like doing the Q&A, so I have no problem scheduling extra ones. Where does the music on your channel come from? If I wanted to use music on my channel, how should I go about it? I use FreePlay. Look up like freeplay.org maybe. Just look it up. FreePlay or royalty-free music. It's music that you're allowed to use for 99 years on YouTube for free with no royalty or licensing. And they have a pretty good selection. It's all very generic, of course, as most of this stuff is. But I like some of the music that I picked out. I'm pretty discerning about it, and there's some of the music I genuinely like, and I don't know that they have an option of actually purchasing it. I would like to make it proprietary so that no one else could use it. Can you discuss your thoughts on the lobotomy Kickstarter? Convince me to pledge. Well, I'm not going to convince you to pledge, and I don't want to do that with Kickstarters anymore because I've been burned by so many, and I just think people need to come up with make up their own mind. I talked about it in my Kickstarter update. I think it's very interesting. I think the theme is fascinating, that you're inmates at an insane asylum who are trying to break out, and all of the enemies that you have to fight in the game is like a dungeon crawling game, I think. They haven't put a rule book out yet, which is kind of a red flag, but says the Kingdom Death guy. Supposedly it's a dungeon crawl, and you're fighting all these monsters, and the monsters are just like the hospital staff that you're imagining in your hallucinations are as insane people. That they're these big monsters, and you have to fight like the chief general of the hospital administrator, who's like this giant monster. And I think that's fascinating. I really do. But this is a new company, I think, and at least it's their first Kickstarter project. And that is definitely a red flag because this could all be style over substance, definitely. And again, I know I'm being hypocritical because of Kingdom Death, but I don't know that I would back Kingdom Death now, knowing what I know now about Kickstarter, because Kingdom Death was like my first or second Kickstarter. And I've been much more wary about it. And this game, I just don't know enough about it yet, but it looks great. It looks great. The theme is great. I love having interesting themes like that. I would say just pay attention to it. Click remind me. on the page and see if they put out rules and rules videos. That's the best I can tell you to do. Can you, since you love Legendary so much, if you were a villain in the set, what would your Master Strike be? Oh, come on. Let's see. I would I would want to have like a nightmare level difficulty mastermind and be like, okay, when a Master Strike is drawn, cut your deck exactly in half and pass half of it to the player on your left, and shuffle up. That is your new deck. That would be like ultimate level Mysterio, like just confusing your enemy. I'm sure this has been asked before, but can't remember. Have you ever thought of adding other reviewers to your channel? Yeah, and I've had some people who are diehard fans of the show ask me about that, who want to go into reviewing themselves, and thought, well, I love your channel, and I want to support you, and I would love to hop on if I can. Totally understandable. I totally get that. And I'm going to have to say no. I've fantasized about the channel and thought to myself how much I would love to have a couple of other partners in crime, and I would love to have someone who's in charge of miniatures games. And when I say miniatures games, I don't mean like board games with miniatures. I mean like War Machine and Warhammer 40k and Infinity and Relic Knights and all these different things to cover that. And then have another person who's in charge of RPGs, because those are I want to cover all of that stuff on my channel and really haven't been able to that much. And so I think that would be great, and that's my fantasy in my head, is to have two really good friends who I could do that with, and then we could like do crossovers and do top 10s like the Dice Tower does, or what have you. And then I also fantasize about like having I thought like maybe if I had a girlfriend, which is, you know, so not going to happen anytime soon. But if I did, and I could, if she was actually into gaming, having a series of videos where we review 2-player only games, because it's notoriously difficult for me to play 2-player games and to get them reviewed, and it would be great to be able to do that with regularity, and to have like special videos just for that. And that would be great, and I think that you would see my channel flourish at that point. But I would want to do it with people who I am, first off, are here with me. I don't want to just take submissions from someone from wherever, as weird as that sounds. And I would want them to be good friends of mine, just because I want to have that rapport. I don't know. I just keep having this image in my head of like a radio show and people working together, and like the Howard Stern show, or whatever it might be, and riffing off of each other, that type of thing. And that kind of romantic version of the channel, hey Bug, is probably not ever going to happen. But at the same time, I just don't want to take random videos from people, which sounds wrong. And maybe if I did it, it would make my channel grow and be better. But for now, I just want to be independent. And if I can't have the ideal of what I would like to do, I think I'm just going to go it on my own, and I don't have to answer to anybody else, and I don't have to be beholden to anyone else, or feel the pressure to put out more videos because my contributors put out a bunch more videos. That's where my mind is at right now. Have you checked out any of the new pictures of the Attack on Titan game from Gen Con? If so, how wet did your pants get? I have to say, I saw a few pictures, and I was not totally impressed yet. First and foremost, the pictures that I saw had Eren Yeager as the Titan that you're fighting. By the way, I'm sorry, it's probably spoilers, but if you're familiar with the show, there's no reason, well, not no reason, but it's very unlikely that scenario would be happening. So I'm a little confused, and it could just be a prototype and they used whatever. I'm sure it is. But it's very, very interesting. Very interesting. I would love to have an Attack on Titan game, but I want to have a good Attack on Titan game, and I don't want a mediocre one. I desperately don't want a mediocre one, so hopefully that's not the case. I'm going to scroll ahead just to make sure there's no problems. Like, last time, I was actually, some Nazi troll that I didn't know was down there in the comments because I was talking too long. How well do you think Ghost Stories compares to the increasing number of newer co-op games? What are your thoughts on the expansions? I think Ghost Stories still holds up very well. I have not played the expansions yet, despite the fact that I've owned them forever. Like, I wanted White Moon so desperately because it was out of print, and it finally came back in print, and I bought it right away. I still haven't played it. Or the Black Circle. But I played the base game many times, and it's a really fun game. I think it still holds up very well. It's still in my top 100. I think it's very difficult, but I love the theme. It doesn't feel necessarily like anything else I have, although the game Besieged strikes me as very similar to Ghost Stories as far as like a tower defense game from all sides. And I never thought of Ghost Stories as a tower defense game until I saw Besieged. I'm like, oh, yeah, I guess Ghost Stories is a tower defense game. You're keeping your tiles safe. I actually watched a bunch of people play that a couple of weeks ago, and they died horribly, which happens a lot in that game. But it made me want to play it, so I still think it's good. And I've heard good things about the expansion, so one day. Have you had a chance to play Legendary Encounters Predator yet? Well, you need to buy a booster pack to make it fully compatible with the Alien game. It was mentioned on a video I saw. I have not played Predator yet. I had the choice between that and Legendary Secret Wars, and I had Legendary Secret Wars sorted out faster. So I went for that over Predator. But now, and then someone else in my group was kind enough to sort the rest of it. Predator was 700 cards had to be sorted out. It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare sorting out these legendary games. I don't know why they do that. I wish I could get a legit explanation. But it's all sorted out now, and I'll be playing it multiple times tomorrow from both the Predator side and the human side. And then hopefully I can get a review up on Sunday. Everyone in my group is clamoring to play it, so I'm going to have no problem getting players for that. But the second part of your question doesn't make any kind of sense to me. I don't know anything about a booster pack. I've never heard that before. I did read through the rules, or at least skimmed through the rules of Predator already, and there's nothing about that. If someone else knows something, say it. Because supposedly, from what I understand, you can just mix them together right off the bat. Because all you're doing is just mixing together the heroes, if you want. Put Ripley in there and with fighting the Predators. That's totally up to you. Or you can just do the Predators with all of their cards with the Alien scenarios. I don't think it's any more difficult than that, but I think you're good to go. I mean, I definitely read through the first introduction of the rulebook, and that said nothing about mixing them together. It said a lot about mixing them together, but didn't say anything about a booster pack. When can we expect to see your next top 10 video? Yeah, I want to do it. I am ready to do my top 10 deck, but well, technically I should play Predator first before I do my top 10 deck building games video. But I'm so swamped with Gen Con games that are really hot that I want to get out that I'm almost like, maybe I should hold off on the top 10. But I want to aim for Monday on that. I'd like to get that knocked out finally. So it'll be top 10 deck building games, another Bugbear cameo. And then after that, we'll see. I have some ideas. Do you know anything about the expansion coming out for Cash and Guns? I do. Isn't it already out? You should check on that. I think you can buy that in some places right now. So you should look around because there is a banner on BGG. What I know about it is that there's like 2 extra guns in the box. There's cards or rolls that let you do dual wielding and point guns at 2 different people and potentially shoot them both. And there's just a bunch of extra stuff in the game. There supposedly adds a lot. Now, I'm not a huge Cash and Guns fan. I've played it maybe 3 times, and every time I played it, I had fun, but I was left thinking, I could have never played that again for the rest of my life, and I'll probably be okay. So it's an interesting game for me, but it's okay. What is the best way to get into Force of Will? Starter decks or boosters? Which series? Well, that's interesting. I know I said I wasn't going to show games, but here you go. This is Vingulf Engage Knights. This is a starter set for Force of Will. And I have to tell you, I'm a little bit disappointed in it because my impression of the Vingulf set when I was just reading about it, and this company does not give you very good descriptions of their stuff because they're from Japan, there's a language barrier, and they don't put out a lot of press releases. And I thought the impression was that you would have like a bunch of starter decks, like at least 5 starter decks, and you could just like open the box, boom, let's go start playing. When really, it's a deck building toolkit, sort of like the ones that Magic the Gathering does or did for a while, where there's just like a bunch of cards and you can make decks out of them. So I guess it's still the best entry point, but I'm a little disappointed. There were a bunch of starter decks that I think are out of print now that I picked up that unfortunately use a very major important rule that is no longer permissible in tournament play. So I don't even know that those are a good choice for you to start with. The best bet, really. Okay, I guess you have to go with the Vingolf Engage Knights. That's probably the best thing for you to go for. And then, as far as like if you want to continue to explore it and go for different sets. Oh wait, no, I'm sorry. They just released a new one called like the Alice Clusters Dual Decks or something, where it's like two. Supposedly, I have it on order. I haven't gotten it yet. Two complete decks that you can play against each other. Excuse me. So you might want to look that up. Look up. It's like just look up Force of Will on cool stuff. It's like Alice Cluster and see what comes up. You'll find it. As far as if you want to buy booster packs of a series, they're all they all just have different themes and different types of cards. They're all so far they've kind of been equally good. Actually, no, that's not true. I was kind of disappointed in Millennia of Ages. Millennia of Ages has some pretty interesting cards, but as far as the rares and super rares, they just did a bunch of alternate artwork, which has always been the case with Force of Will, but this time they've like double or tripled down on just the alt art. So I would actually recommend either Crimson Moon's Fairy Tale, the Tower of Heaven, and two somethings. You'll find it. And what's the other one? The Moon Priestess Returns. I think you're better off with one of those three. Hey Nick, did you back the 100 Swords Kickstarter game and your thoughts on it? I did not. It looks kind of interesting. I just don't know too much about it. So a few things were like red flags for me not mentioning it on Kickstarter update. It didn't seem I didn't like the artwork that much. Rado talked about it at length, and I'm like, well, whatever. And plus I just can't get to every game. What are your opinions on new Cthulhu Realms game coming out from Tasty Minstrel Games? That was on a short list for me to have my friends pick up at the con, but again, I couldn't have my friends pick up every game, so I skipped on that. I'm interested in it. I think I'd probably like a Cthulhu theme better than a Starship theme, and supposedly that's all that it is a re-theming of Star Realms, some minor differences. But you still have the color-coded system and so on. But I've heard the art's good. I actually have not looked at the art. So I'm interested in it. I don't know why Tasty... I'm trying to figure out Tasty Minstrel's business model. I guess they're doing the right thing, but who are these other people that are working with them? Like, oh yeah, we've got this game called Star Realms. We'll just let you do Cthulhu Realms. Why wouldn't Epic have done it? Not Epic, White Wizard. And Colosseum. Why is Tasty Minstrel putting out Colosseum? Why isn't Asmodee and Days of Wonder doing it? And why did they choose Tasty Minstrel? I don't know. As you can tell, I don't like Tasty Minstrel very much. What are some new things you would like to see from the DC Comics deck building game? I want to see them. I feel like some of the games in the DC Comics, the Cerberus deck building line from Cryptozoic, were like experiments to see if things were good and worked. And I would love to see them actually use some of the things that they used in Street Fighter and Naruto and mix that back into the DC Comics deck building game. The chakra points from Naruto are amazing. It's like a third type of currency that's really, really cool and gives you more to do with your cards. And I love it. And I wish they would utilize something like that in the base game. You know, like power up. It doesn't have to be called chakra. Then Street Fighter, where you can like do the counterattacks against people, and you have a special counterattack card that you can purchase from your own lineup at some point. I love that idea. That's kind of like the War Machine thing of having your own cards that you can buy. Love that. So there's cool ideas out there in the ether of the Cerberus deck builders, and I'd love to see the DC game actually make use of them. They've been very hesitant to do so. What's your ranking order preference for these party games? Ultimate Werewolf, Resistance 2nd Edition, and the Avalon version, Coup, One Night Ultimate Werewolf. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with the stuff that I would not recommend at all. That's going to be at the bottom of the list. So at the bottom is One Night Ultimate Werewolf. Just toss it right in the garbage. You'd be fine. Actually, that's a lot of effort. Maybe just throw some dirty clothes on top of it. As that happens, as you have dirty clothes, just throw them on top of the game, and you'll never have to see it or look at it. Then you have above that Coup. Now, that's actually a pretty wide gulf between One Night Ultimate Werewolf and Coup, because I like Coup, I own Coup, because I just have no reason to get rid of it, but it's only okay. I've actually turned down games of Coup, even when we're just looking for something quick, because I'm like, so I might not even be holding on to my copy. Then regular Werewolf, because, or Ultimate Werewolf. It's fine. It's not the best thing ever. I've been kind of disappointed every time I played, but the idea of Werewolf is sound. Maybe I just need a better moderator. And then I would have Resistance 2nd Edition, and then I would have Avalon Edition, which they're kind of equal. It doesn't matter. If you like the roles, I like the roles of Avalon. Some people don't like the Assassin and Merlin and Percival and Mordred and all that stuff. I do. And so I would put that as the best of all of those. Personal opinion. They did put out another edition of Resistance. I think it's the 3rd edition, and supposedly has more roles, I think. I've actually considered picking up a copy because I like the science fiction theme of Resistance better, even though it's barely there, the theme. But, you know, the cards look better. It's just I like the roles of Avalon better. I just want to say thanks for your time. Well, thank you very much. Vincent goes on to say very many nice things about me. I really appreciate it. Do you like shrimp and sushi? I like shrimp for sure. Definitely. I primarily like fried shrimp, obviously. But I do like cocktail shrimp and the like. Sushi is interesting. I like sushi, but I like just like generic sushi that's not too adventurous. Like I like the salmon sushi with just like rice and a piece of salmon on it, or tuna sushi, or shrimp sushi, which I just had a bunch of the other night at the Asian buffet. Viking buffet. But I don't like the adventurous sushi, which probably means I don't really like sushi that much, because sushi is supposed to be like a mix of stuff. But it's fine. Any thoughts on Arctic Scavengers? Well, I have Arctic Scavengers, the new edition that comes packaged with the HQ and Recon expansion. I think it always had the HQ expansion in it, or at least like the 2nd edition of it, or 2nd printing of it did. But now the new edition has Recon in the same box. I'm going to do a review of that soon. I was pretty disappointed in it, so look forward to that or not. Any excitement that Fallout 4 will have no level cap? I don't really care about that as much, but I know that a lot of people do care about it, and I think it's great that they're catering to fans that way. I don't know. See, the thing is, I just want more quests. If when they're saying there's no level cap, that means that they're going to also be providing a bunch of new content all the time to incentivize you to keep leveling up and playing, then yeah, that's amazing, because it always is kind of sad when I get done doing like everything in Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas, and I kind of get left with like this hollow feeling. So what? I don't really care so much that I could like level up to infinity, but I want there to be more storyline stuff, and if I'm leveling up at the same time and getting stronger and stronger, then sure, that's amazing. Have you played Codenames yet? Did you see that it went up on CSI for pre-order yesterday and sold out before the day was out? I didn't know that, but you were not paying attention to my channel, because my review for Codenames is up. It went up this morning. And I love it. It's great. I don't know if I love it, but it's really, really fun, and it's staying in my collection. I don't know why it's so insanely popular, but that's party games for you. They're very accessible. A lot of different people can enjoy them, and so they just have that widespread appeal, just like Spyfall did. I like Spyfall better, though. How well do you think Blue Orange is doing raising their profile among gamers? They seem to be doing a pretty good job. They sent like a bajillion review copies of New York 1901 out just to try to get more, to make that their Ticket to Ride style game. And they have a bunch of little games. I don't know. I think it might have been knocked off of their review list. I'm not sure. I have not heard from them in a while. I'm wondering what's up with that. But that's fine. They're a good company. I don't think I've played a bad game from them. I've probably played like 6 or 7 of their games now, and they've all been either, maybe there's a couple of them that are just okay, but there's some of them that are good, and there's a couple that are great. So I've been really, really surprised by them. I think they're doing a good job. And what else can I say? Will Gen Con lose out to Essen if several hitherto unknown games make a splash at Essen? Well, that's probably going to be the thing. I think Pandemic Legacy is going to be a huge smash hit, and it's premiering at Essen by chance. They probably wouldn't have liked it that way, but whatever takes the onus off of Gen Con, because I think it's pretty annoying at this point that everyone's lives become Gen Con. I'm like, and it's just like another series of videos went up about Gen Con today on the Dice Tower, and I'm like, how much can we go to this well? So whatever it takes to focus and puts it on Essen as well would be great, I think. I know for me, there's a few games that I'm already super excited about. A lot of the Japan brand games. I hope people can pick my order for me, together with the Big Book of Madness. If I can get people to get me some games besides my Japan brand order, the Big Book of Madness is like #1 right now. And Pandemic Legacy, but that's probably going to drop around the same week as Essen. But yeah, I think there's a potential there to steal a lot of the thunder this year, but that's not like, I don't know. To me, the only reason these cons should even exist is for all these new games that are coming out, and I don't know why. Again, if I don't want to reopen that old wounds, but I don't know why we've chosen these cons to be the arbitrary places for games to all drop all at the same time. It's just stupid to me. But that is the only reason I have any interest in them whatsoever. So, are you ready to give up on Barbarossa? Well, yeah. I've already kind of given up on it. I haven't gotten rid of it because I think it's interesting to have and to be like, hey, look at this crazy-ass game with Nazi girls. We're not going to play it, but just look at it. It's just the problem with that game. Set aside the atrocious theme for a minute. It's just a game from 5 years ago. Like I said in my review, and I think I said in my review, and I definitely said afterwards, if I had played that game, it came out like a year after Dominion. And if I had played it a year after Dominion, I'd be like, what is this? This is amazing. It's not just Dominion deck building, but I can deploy units and I can fight for locations. And I'm fighting my opponents and I get different troops. It's amazing. That's so cool. But we've come a long way with deck builders since then. And other games like War Machine High Command, I think, do it better. So that's a problem right there. Played my first game of Ashes today. I think I like it, but I'll wait to build my own deck. This is where you and I differ because, again, I'm not into deck building that much. I just want more Ashes decks to pick from. Have other people make them for me. Excuse me. Nick, what are your thoughts on the upcoming DC Cinematic Universe and also the Man of Steel movie? I'm a big DC fan, and the recent Superman movie was one of my favorite comic movies. Well, you'd be in the minority on that, Vincent. I actually thought that the Man of Steel was not as bad as everyone else thought it was. I thought it was entertaining, but although I've had no desire to seek it out and watch it again, I'm very wary of the DC Universe. I think they want to be Marvel, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, so bad, but I don't think that their characters, or at least the way that they're portraying those characters, is going to be as universally appealing as they want it to be. I think they're jumping ahead too far. Marvel took their time and laid the groundwork and really, really nurtured and fostered what they have. Whether you like it or not, it's fine. But they really did things the right way to make this amazing thing. And DC's like, well, crap, let's just schedule a bunch of movies. We can get this done. And there's nothing going, like they're not taking their time to building up to it. And they're, a Suicide Squad movie already? Like, really? I like the Suicide Squad, but they are not top tier. They're a bunch of like B-list people, a couple of A-list people, and they're already going to that well. It's very odd. And like already in the second Superman movie, they're throwing in like Aquaman and the Flash, and Lex Luthor's going to be there, and Batman will be there, the new Batman, and Wonder Woman. I mean, it's insane. I really think there's a potential here for it to be a disaster. I hate to do that because I want it to be good. I will watch them, but is Marvel Legendary becoming too complex with all their additional rules in the expansion sets, including Secret Wars? Do all the new rules take away from the fun of the game in its base form? Well, it's interesting that you say that because I think that for a lot of hardcore fans of the game, and I hate to say hardcore like, well, for true fans. No, I don't mean it that way. But for people that have really invested a lot of time into the game, all those rules are what we're looking for. I'm constantly looking for new ways for Legendary to break itself. And it's been excellent at doing that. In fact, I think I maybe should have made that point in my review of Secret Wars, or perhaps one of my other reviews of any of the expansion sets, is that is a part of the appeal for me of Legendary, is finding out how they can continue to innovate the system and make all this crazy new stuff. Because it's modular, right? You don't have to play with certain things. It does become more difficult, because if you just want to mix everything together, then all of a sudden it's like, I mean, I have a stack. Yeah, here, I got them right here. Like, here's all the rules sheets for Legendary. There's a bunch of sheets with new rules for each of the smaller sets. There's 2 big rule books for the 2 main sets. This doesn't even have the I have a whole other sheet for Secret Wars. It's over there. So, yeah, okay, I get it. That's a lot of stuff, and it is very complex, but I do think that's a large amount of the appeal of the game. Looking back at the base set of Legendary and thinking about the masterminds in that set, where their Master Strikes were just like, if this comes out, if you don't reveal this style of hero, everyone discards a card. Like the end. Or you take a wound. Like, it seems quaint and old-fashioned. I don't want to go back to those days. Excuse me. That was probably really gross. Looking on camera. So, I don't know. I like the way it is, but I can understand people having... being overwhelmed by it if they try to just jump right into it now. But I always just tell people, pick a set that you like, either the original legendary or the villains, depending on which character you like, and you can get a lot of usage out of that for a long time before going to then I would go with Dark City or Secret Wars. Probably Dark City first, because it's probably a little more manageable. From what you read, saw, or heard, what were your post-Gen Con impressions, especially FFG's announcements of Warhammer, Quest, the card game, and Runebound with Pogs? I didn't play the original Runebound. Runebound was one of those games I was always trying to get in math trades. But invariably, people would put up all their Runebound stuff and a lot on math trade, which means like, oh, okay, well, none of my games are worth $500, so I don't think I'm going to get that this time. So I never was able to play it, but it seems interesting to me. I'll try it. I'm totally on board with it. And it Pogs, I'm not used to Runebound with no Pogs, so we'll see. Warhammer Quest, a card game, I want to know more about it. I might have to do some research on that tonight, because it sounds like they're calling it Warhammer Quest, the Adventure card game, which brings to mind Pathfinder, the Adventure card game. And that would be kind of neat. I'm on board for something like that. I'm looking forward to Apocrypha, because I think that the Pathfinder Adventure card game is a great idea. I still have it. I still have a lot of it, but it's had its issues. So if anyone can improve on that, more power to them. I don't know what's wrong with my nose. I took a shower before the Q&A. I don't know what that has to do with anything. Hey, Nick, I'd like to start out by saying thanks for all the new vids and great reviews. Thank you very much. Oh, I thought that was the intro to a question. What game do you keep the most up to date that has the most expansions? Legendary. At this point, Legendary is... Yeah, Legendary I think I have more expansions for that, or at least substantive expansions, than anything else. Like Summoner Wars has decks, but I don't really count that much. Cosmic Encounter, I've kept completely up to date with, so that'd be second. How many do they have out now for that? 5? I think I've got them all, whatever they are, for the newest edition of Cosmic Encounter. Eldritch Horror is getting up there. I just bought Strange Remnants last week, and I have to play that and review that. And was that the third one? Yeah, that's the third one. They've already announced the fourth one, which I'm excited about at Gen Con. What are your opinions? Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped something. Skipped a few. Pizza New York or Chicago style, what do you like on your pie? I don't know the difference. New York just means really thin and big, right? That's okay. Is Chicago style just thick? I probably like that better. Is there any chance of getting games with IPs like Dark Horse or Valiant? Are we doomed to Marvel and DC and whatever game designers make themselves? No, I think that companies like IDW are doing a good job of putting out their own comics, but themed games. But they, I think there's a possibility. Valiant's kind of making a comeback, are they not? Didn't they bring back Bloodshot? Something like that? I don't know. You'd be surprised what things resurface. I'm not saying that like I have inside information. I just thought. What are your opinions on Titan Forge as a company to get involved in a Kickstarter with? I'm looking at Lobotomy. Okay, so I talked about Lobotomy earlier. They're a new company. They're untested. The game looks really cool. The theme is cool, but it's risky because there's no rulebook up yet. Anyone upgrade to Windows 10? I'm finding that YouTube videos are choppy. I have upgraded to Windows 10. I haven't noticed that with YouTube videos, but I was seriously screwed last night because my camera does not interact with Windows 10. Meaning that I filmed a lot of stuff and then plugged it into my computer, as I usually do, using USB cable, and there's nothing. It recognized the camera, but there was no files, despite the fact that there are files. So, and supposedly it's a very common problem with Windows 10, so that was a big issue for me. And it's part of the reason I only got 20 minutes of sleep last night. I had to find a workaround. I had to download a whole new program from Nikon that would let me rip them directly off of my camera, which is very much a pain in the ass. Excuse me for 1 second. Sorry. Are there any intellectual properties that you would like to see as a board game? Tons. I did a top 10 list of it that nobody watched, but you can watch it on my channel. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. Babylon 5 was like my number 2 or number 3. My number 1 was Final Fantasy Tactics. What else? I probably said Attack on Titan. It's funny that happened now. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff I'd love to see. What is your favorite co-op game with a traitor elements? At this point, Dead of Winter, I think. I think Dead of Winter surpasses Shadows over Camelot, which would be number 2. Anyone see Ant-Man? Thought it was pretty good. Not Guardians of the Galaxy good, but not too bad for a late summer film. Looks much better than the Fantastic Four. Well, I think that like a pile of dirty rags looks better than the Fantastic Four. So that's a low bar. I have not seen Ant-Man. I think it's going to be a movie rental for me. I'm just not that interested in it. Now, I like the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I'm sure it's very entertaining. I am not knocking it. It's just I'm not going to go out of my way to see it. What 5 games do you think everybody getting into board gaming should own? That's a bit beyond the scope of this Q&A. I could do a top 10 essentials games list at some point. At some point, I'm just going to start copying the Dice Tower's top 10s because there's only so many ideas for them. But for me personally, I think that you should own a copy of Dominion or any variant of Dominion that fits your style. If your idea of Dominion is Legendary, if your idea of Dominion is Tanto Cuore, if your idea of Dominion is Arctic Scavengers, that's fine, but you should have a solid deck building game that has a theme that appeals to you. Castles of Burgundy, maybe, even though it's not like one of my favorite games by far. I think it's a solid Euro game, and it's going to let you know whether or not you like Euro games a lot, while being complex but not too complex. I don't know. I really can't go through 5 right now, but that's an idea of it. Like I wouldn't necessarily recommend games that I'm totally in love with because those aren't going to be for everybody, but games that I've enjoyed or that have something very similar that other people would enjoy. Do you enjoy the dexterity games? If so, which ones do you suggest? Not particularly, but I'm trying to warm myself up to them. I have Flick 'em Up. I will be playing that hopefully tomorrow and doing a review of that who knows when. Hopefully soon, but I can't promise anything. If I feel like I have to play a bunch of times, it might be a while. But I've heard good things, and I'm hoping that I like it. I have Disc Duelers, which I'm sitting on my shelf for over a year now, and I haven't gotten to, but I'd like to get to that at some point. I haven't been that good at dexterity games, and what's it called, Pitch Car, but I want to like them. We'll see. What was your favorite moment from Gen Con? Well, I wasn't at Gen Con, so I'd have to say me not having to be there in the heat, in the crowds. I have to tell you, people kept trying to make me... they weren't trying to make me feel bad, but it felt like everyone was like, you should have been there, Nick. It's amazing. The more and more I hear about Gen Con, the more and more I'm like, I'm good. Thanks. Just get me the games. That's all I want is the games and get me out. Like next year, I might just drive up to Gen Con myself, get a cheap motel on the outskirts of town. Like, I don't care if it's 2 hours away. Drive in for one day with a one-day pass, get all the games that I want, put them in my car, go home. Maybe have a beer with a couple of people I've been wanting to meet in person, like Emerson Matsuchi, who's a good friend of mine, and a few other people that I don't get to see who I only know from their online appearance, and then get the hell out. I do not want to deal with the herds of people. It's not that I'm antisocial. It's just like, that just seems like a nightmare scenario. And when you go and listen to or watch the first video that Tom put up today for their Dice Tower or their Dice Tower Gen Con recap. It is 23 minutes of them telling you how miserable the first couple of days of the con was, and I don't know. I think that right there sealed the deal for me not really wanting to go to it or spending a lot of time at doing it. Wow, I just now caught up. You guys have got a lot of questions for me. Oh man, it's 10 o'clock already? That's crazy. Sorry guys. Man, I can't believe I fell that far behind. I was really ranting a lot, wasn't I? I'll go longer. I don't care. If you guys want me to. How are you loving Windows 10? I'm not really. I've had nothing but relatively minor but significant issues with it. But it's fine, I guess. Once the kinks are gone, I guess it'll be okay. Star Trek New Generation or Old Series or Star Wars? Next Generation. Yeah. Love to hear your thoughts on New Runebound. I don't have thoughts. I think it looks interesting. I hope it's good. What do you think of Legendary Big Trouble in Little China? As I already alluded to, I think it's weird that they're doing it, but Big Trouble in Little China is one of my favorite, guilty pleasure movies. I made my ex-girlfriend watch it, and she was just like, that movie was ridiculous. And I'm like, yeah, I know, right? Oh, man, it was one of the few things from my childhood that I think held up. Like, in other words, I recognize it was ridiculous. I still enjoy it thoroughly. I don't know why they're making a Legendary game out of it. And is it going to be based on the new one? I don't know, because I thought that the new one was quite a ways off, right? Aren't they just in the planning stages of the one with The Rock? So I don't know. Do you prefer the Legendary Aliens or Predators? I haven't played the Predator game yet. It's looking like I might like Predator a bit more. We'll see. But they're pretty similar, though. What's your favorite game you got from Gen Con or look forward to playing? Well, of what I've played already, by far, I'm happy with Secret Wars. It's amazing. But of unique games, Codenames is really good. I mean, I've only played like 3 or 4 of the games I got from Gen Con yet. But I am most looking forward to... I'm going to say I'm most looking forward to the Undercity, because that game is pure potential right now. I have avoided looking at anyone else's comments on it since the con started and since it was released. I think it could either be fantastic for me or bad for me, and I can't wait to find out. And don't spoil it for me either. Don't tell me anything about it. What would you like to see next in the Legendary series? Well, if you're just talking about Marvel, well, they're going to do a Secret Wars too, so I already know that, and I'm perfectly fine with that. After that, who the hell knows? I'd like to see some really minor characters like the Runaways or something. For the next Legendary series, let's finally get some DC going on, man. Come on. Either get some DC going on or some other indie comic label. Just get it done. Someone else mentioned Valiant and Dark Horse. Do that. That'd be amazing. Make that the next Encounters. Anybody know how different Warhammer Quest is from Advanced Hero Quest? I have the latter. I don't know that, actually. I'm curious about that myself. How did you feel about Warhammer Quest, a card game? I don't know enough about it. Why did they bring a cat in the first Alien movie? Because they were going to be gone for, years and years and years, and the guy wanted to bring his cat with him. Can't blame him, I suppose. His cat would have just died while he was out in space for decades. I think Jonesy did get somebody killed, didn't he? Someone was looking for it, and then he turned around and the alien was there. Sorry, spoiler alert. How many? Well, there's not that many people here? 26. Okay, whatever. I'm used to that. You snubs nuclear war in your Kickstarter segment. You are dead to me, Nick. That's fine. I don't know. There's tons of games, and that one didn't seem that interesting to me. I hated the little, mutant thing on the box. It's stupid looking. Are there any themes you'd like to see more of in gaming? I would like to see more dark, mature themes like Kingdom Death and Lobotomy. I don't know if Lobotomy's any good, by the way. I just like the theme of it. Why do you feel you are polarizing? I think you're there now. People are finally I'm catching up to what things I said earlier. I think your reviews are good and have good thoughts. I still make up my own mind. And I do enjoy other people's thoughts, including yours and Tom's folk. Listen, I don't know why either. I don't think every time that I say something controversial on the Dice Tower, it's the most benign thing in the world to me. When I point out that a publisher is doing something really stupid, when I say something like, "What's up, jerks?" I think that's the most benign, dumb, throwaway thing ever. People act like it's the end of the world. So, you have to ask them. It's the Dice Tower is full of, the audience, just the audience, is full of incredibly politically correct people, and I don't know. They don't want someone coming up and being just a smartass. How do you feel, Nick, for getting me hooked on Kickstarter games? Board gaming was already an expensive hobby. Don't look at me, okay? I think in my recent Kickstarter updates, I've been very cynical about Kickstarters. If you still back them, that's your fault. Nick, I am scheduled to play a game with Sheriff of Nottingham and get to choose to play with Z or Tom. Who should I choose? What? Why would you only have to choose one of them? And is this only hypothetical? You want to play with Tom. I mean, that's his jam right there. I know that Z likes the game, and Z's an awesome person to play games with, but Tom is the one who's going to be like, all right, this is Sheriff of Nottingham, and here's what you got to do. Like, I've seen his passion for the games that he's passionate about, so I think you want to go with Tom on that one. Other than Dice Tower reviewers, have you met any others outside those folks? Yeah, at Dice Tower Con, I was able to meet Suzanne. Well, okay. I don't know if you count other just contributors like myself. I have not met anyone who is fully independent of the Dice Tower. I haven't met Joel Eady. I haven't met Rado. I haven't met Undead Viking in person. I've interacted with these people in some way, shape, or form, but not like that. I've met a few designers and publishers at Dice Tower Con or over Skype, but that's about it. Don't worry, Nick. Being fat is almost a prerequisite for doing board game reviews. Yeah, well, that's why I want to be different. What are some good dueling card games that are like Magic besides Summoner Wars? Well, the new one from the same company, Ashes, Rise of the Phoenixborn, is a pretty good one. I've heard good things about Mage Wars, but have not played it myself, so I can't really recommend it. But for me, Summoner Wars and Ashes, I'm looking behind me. If you don't mind the collectible part or are okay with some generic starter decks, I think that Force of Will is very, very good. Better than Magic, in my opinion. Any games you would have liked to have kept but got rid of by mistake? Nothing I got rid of was a mistake. Some things I look back on and regret a little bit. Like, I probably should have kept Mage Knight and gave it more of a shot. I had Mage Knight in the expansion, played it like 4 times, and was still just couldn't grab me. But I never tried to play it solo either, which people seem to think is the best way to play. Well, it's funny, CJ. I used to run 5Ks all the time. In my early 20s, I was not thin, because I don't think that's my body structure, but I was much more athletic. I ran 5K races every single week, and at that time, I was in like the 23 to 24 age bracket, and I always placed in the top 3 of my age bracket out of a lot of runners. So I was very good at it, and it just fell off at some point. I had a lot of bad things happen in my life around the time I was 23 and 24, so that's a major reason why things went haywire. Nick, fess up and tell us how psyched you are for the new Fantastic Four movie. Nothing can be further than the truth. I will probably watch it when it's on video because, sure, while I'm doing something like putting together miniatures, but I think that looks like a disaster, and apparently I was correct if the reviewers are to be believed. I was never interested in the Fantastic Four to begin with, by the way. I thought they were okay. But they really have just wrecked that whole franchise. Wrecked it. Fox does not care about anything other than making money, which is understandable. They're a movie studio. But at a certain point, they could have said, okay, let's swallow our pride and admit that we can't do this. We suck at this. Let's let Marvel do it. They will pay us a very hefty licensing fee to use our characters that we have the rights to. We have the final say on certain things. Other than that, we'll let them go. Same thing with Spider-Man, but they're not going to do it because human nature. Do you have any thoughts on the Kickstarter for Gods and Monsters from Ultra Reality Games? I don't know what that is. Oh, wait a minute. Is that the Conan one? I feel like you're telling me about the Conan one. Sorry, I'm curious now. Oh, okay. I hadn't looked at this. You know, I kind of skimmed past this without opening the page this past weekend. Huh. It's got really cool looking miniatures. It looks like War Machine, which isn't a bad thing. Oh, wow. I really, really like that Steam Knight. Cool. Huh. I don't need another miniatures game that I'm not going to play, though. But it looks neat. It doesn't look like they're going to fund at all. Wow. They're really not going to fund. They're at 20,000 out of 80,000. They only have less than 2 weeks to go. They're toast. I've seen more amazing things happen, but... What are your thoughts about the new Deadpool movie? Again, I was never into Deadpool. It didn't really do much for me. I watched the trailer. I'm fine with it being R-rated. That's cool. But it just, I don't know. I felt the humor was kind of forced. Just not for me. But hey, I'll probably still watch it. Nick, did you see those tiny games from Perplex Games? The ones that look like they are a pack of gum? SHH, or Shh, is the one that looks best from that lot. Yeah, I'm curious about those. I would like to get a hold of those and see what they're like. What do you think is the best set for Pathfinder? Adventure card game, I presume. Just any of them. They're all pretty similar. That's part of the problem. Go with the first one. Just a lot of random comments. Nick, admit that you are psyched for the new Mission Red Planet. No, I will not admit something that's not true. It's fine. It's a fine game. I just was not as thrilled with it. Nick, come to Grand Con in Michigan. I'll set you up with a small twin-size bed to sleep in. A whole twin-size bed? Let me think about it. I think Tom's going to Grand Con, isn't he? I had no idea what that was. Have you considered starting answering the questions asked after going live? Well, I don't know. Is there a difference? If people really want to come on the channel early and submit questions, it's hard to turn them down. Can we get a link to where you get those shirts? These shirts and a lot of the shirts I have are from either... This is particularly from teeturtle.com, and a lot of them are also from woot.shirt. Nick, have you had many plays of Ashes yet? Assuming you have, are you still liking it? Well, when I was playtesting it, which I never did to completion, I played it like 6 or 7 times, and that build was pretty much the game. They didn't change much. They only changed like the minutia of what the cards did and their power levels. And then when I got it, the full final published version, I played it like 4 more times. So I don't know if that's a lot. The matches are pretty quick. But I still like it. I still like it quite a bit. Watch my review. I was pretty accurate in there. I don't think it's the greatest thing ever, and I still like Summoner Wars more, but it's really interesting, and it's a beautiful game. Going to play Queen's Gambit finally this weekend. How would you rate it from 1 to 10? I'll rate it a 7. I'll rate it a 9 or a 10 for the spectacle of it, but as far as the gameplay goes, it's 7. It's solid. It's interesting. It's fun. It's not the most strategic thing in the world. It's very, very random. You play it for the experience of it. If you really want to play it through like this modular, like all these different scenes from a movie going on, then yeah, it's going to be amazing. So when you mix those two things together, the game's like an 8 for me. But the gameplay is just okay. Would you ever dress up as a cosplay character? If so, which one? If not, why? Not anymore, because I hate the way I look. I'm grotesque. Once upon a time, I would have actually. My ex and I were planning on going to a convention down here in Florida, the SuperCon, dressed up as she was going to be Masato from Evangelion, and I was going to be Gendo Ikari. Like, she bought me the turtleneck sweater and the glasses and the gloves and everything, and it just never happened. Sad. We broke up soon after that. Any thoughts on artwork for Thanos and Black Panther and Legendary Secret Wars? It might just be me, but the artworks for those look computer generated. Now, I don't know about that, but they do stick out like a sore thumb. I think they're good. I like the artwork for both of them, but they definitely went with something different. It looks drastically different than the other artwork. And I heard someone else on my review complain about that, like the artwork was kind of all over the place, which I don't disagree, but I think it works because it is Secret Wars and it is supposed to be like alternate realities slamming into each other. So I think it looks good, but you're right, it looks out of place. But I was so happy to be able to play as Thanos. I love Thanos. It's my favorite character from the set. Let's see if I can really rush through these. Which is a better deduction game? Guess Who or Battleship? Battleship all day long. Have you checked out the new Mysterium yet? I'm excited to get the new version. Looks great. I haven't. I'm not excited to do so. I made a comment on the Board Game Geek preview blog post for the new Mysterium that got a lot of play and feedback because I pointed out that one of the publishers of the new version from Libelud or from Asmodee went on in great length telling about how different the new Mysterium was from the old one, Tajimashta Makada, that I have on my shelf behind me. And it all boiled down to, here's a couple of very minor changes, and the artwork for some of the stuff is different, but the dream cards are the same. That's it. And I pointed that out, and he kept saying, they're really two different games, and they're totally not. I think you're fine getting either one. I'm perfectly happy with the one I have, and I don't know that I'm ever going to buy the new one. That's just me. Have you ever thought about letting the fans jump in the Google Hangout video? Well, that's supposed to be a Patreon pledge level. I'm going to make a big post about Patreon this weekend, probably Sunday, maybe tomorrow, asking people about the future of it and feedback about it, because I want my Patreon to grow. I feel awful that it has stagnated and doing nothing compared to people whose Patreon accounts for channels that have less than half of the viewers that I have, but their Patreon accounts are booming. So obviously I'm screwing it up royally, and part of what I promised people was Google Hangouts that just never materialized because it was like herding cats to get my backers together. But we're going to do something. Trust me, I am not going to let it die. Have you ever played Blood Bowl, the Game Workshop game, or the FFG card game? I've played neither. I'm interested in both, but I haven't been going out of my way to get them either. The Upper Deck people claim it would make them have to charge more if they sorted the cards more in the legendary sets. Why is every other company able to do that with no problem, though? Listen, I've worked in printing for 17 years. I know what's going on. They're cutting these things on and round cornering them on machines that just punch them out. It's not that difficult to have one person sitting there sorting them out. Okay, I'm not going to fall on my sword over this one. I just think it's stupid. Have you ever thought about doing a top 10 gateway games video? Sure. But I don't like a lot of games that are considered gateway games. But I have some. I might do it. My gateway games video would be completely different than anyone else's. Will Wheaton proves he is a lowly left-wing imbecile on Facebook last night. Well, I'm a left-wing imbecile, so... Hold on a second. Windows 10 is giving me some sort of weird warning. Is everything good with the feed? Looks like it. All right. Well, I'll have to look at what you're talking about, Joe. In fact, I'm going to look right now because I'm just that kind of guy. Is it his Facebook feed? Hold on a second. Damn it. This is fascinating television. Okay. Fudge that. I'm stuck in Internet Explorer, which is a nightmare. Okay, obviously, maybe it was tabletop. I don't know, just explain to me what it is. Yeah, I don't know. I can't find what you're talking about, Joe, but I am very left-wing, so maybe I'll be the judge of whether or not he said something really stupid. Oh, wait a minute. Look, my video is screwing up. Yeah, see? Yeah, something happened there. Okay, so you guys can hear me? Okay. That is funny. Oh boy. Let me see. Hold on a second. Maybe I can refresh this? I'm not entirely sure how. Hold on a sec. Well, okay. It is funny. God, look at me. I'm a nightmare. I don't know what to do, guys. But there's Windows 10 sucking up the joint again. Let me see if I can make another shot. That might work. No, what's happening is it's not recognizing... What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. Oh, man, why is it doing this? It's not working. This is my last-ditch effort. If it doesn't work, we're going to have to end it here. Boy, Windows 10 is really terrible. I've had nothing but problems with it. Yeah, it doesn't want to recognize my camera. Alright, guys. Well, sadly, we're going to have to end it there, I think. Did I miss any, like, really interesting questions? Sorry. I think I did. Okay, I didn't miss too much, guys. I'm just going to have to call it there, guys. I was going over too long anyways. But hey, this will be a very interesting end to the video for other people that jump in late. Thanks so much for your patience, peeps. I'll catch you on the flip side and hopefully figure this out. Gosh, I really hate computers. Have a good one.